Yeah, and I think it's almost how you build that as
Mm.
a into your mindset. So I guess that, and that's where that kind of growth mindset comes in, right? So it's how do we start to build that into our
Mhm.
thinking? How, if we've got a team that is looking at product development and design, how do they build into their daily rhythms? Capturing ideas and ideation.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
is
Yep.
it that at the end of their stand up, they say quick round of ideas, or, they have a place where they can sort of jot down a collective sort of whiteboard of sort of big like moonshot ideas that we'd love to do, and then there's a so we it's just building it into the rhythms and building it
Yep.
into your existing sort of ways of working and processes.
That's the thing, because honestly, the best ideas I had, I didn't come up, with them in front of a screen. Doesn't happen.
Exactly.
I don't come
You
up with the
never.
best ideas. It's I don't know, in the shower or on a walk or wherever it is, or
Yeah.
while reading a book on the couch with a bottle of no glass of wine or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But it's not in front of the screen. It's not in a structured step by step ideation session moderated in front of some digital whiteboard, for example. That's the thing.
Exactly. And I think there's a couple of other sort of tips and tricks that I would say, right? So one of those ones, you're completely right. You never have your best idea at your desk, right? The other thing is keep them short, sharp, and punchy. Yeah.
Hmm.
What I want after an ideation session is people say, well, what happens to me quite often, I put them in, it's like, oh, I'm not sure this is long enough, because people are used to sort of like hour-long meetings, or like, I want people leaving those sessions thinking that was amazing, that was so fast, like that, the energy that I felt there, and I'm excited about
Yeah.
the ideas we discussed. So how do you make it as punchy as you possibly can? 30
Yeah.
minutes, 25 minutes, that's the kind of time you want. Also, how do you start to inspire that creativity by the mechanism of the meeting? So it may be that you say we're going to do a creative session, a thought session. I'd love this to be a walking meeting, so all of you get out and about.
Hmm.
It's in the summer. Like let's all go for our individual walks. We'll do it on a call. We don't necessarily need to. We can have one person that's scribing, and we'll all go out and sort of walk and take inspiration from our surroundings.
Oh, that's cool.
Or do we
Hmm.
do that as a walking meeting collectively, and we sort of
Hmm.
set a space that we want to go to? Do we do a meeting in the park in the summer? That's one of the best sort of offsites. Well, not offsite. It was a team meeting that we had, was in a park when I was in the innovation team, in a park in central London in the summer, and we did it as almost a bit of a picnic. But we had some team building in there. We had a bit of ideation and talking about some of the work that we were doing.
Yeah.
But taking yourself out of that environment really does help to spark that
Yeah.
creativity. You're completely right.
I think so, right? So that's interesting. That's an interesting toolbox to draw some tools out of that. That's great. Now, if we look in, we can't look into the future, but if we look towards the future, um, personal opinion, what is your vision for the evolution of hybrid work? Right. So let's say a couple of years from now, and also innovation in the workplace, and how do you see these concepts evolving and shaping the way how we work?
Yeah, so personally, I think hybrid it will continue to evolve.
Hmm.
There's so many external factors that will continue to impact that. But we found that flexibility. I don't believe that flexibility will go. I think that flexibility will only increase, but be less rigid. So we'd almost have that sort of a day-to-day level of flexibility. I think I'm really interested in the concept of asynchronous working. I think that's something that I think we'll definitely see that kind of that rise of. I think there's going to be some real opportunities when it comes to some of the AI solutions that we're now starting to see come into the market. I mean, looking at what sort of fascinates me around the journey that we've been on over the last couple of years is that typically, as an innovation person, I would talk in horizons, right? Horizon
Yeah.
1, 2, and
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm now seeing is that those horizons are starting to become compressed. We're starting to see things that we would have thought be Horizon 2 or Horizon 3 start just go straight to
Mm.
market, straight to the user. When I'm thinking about OpenAI and ChatGPT, for example, but also the ability of people to sort of pivot and change their proposition, again, something we learned throughout the pandemic. So there's all these kind of trends where we saw gin distilleries switching to
Yeah.
making hand sanitizer overnight.
Yeah.
People have now realized they can react and change. So that VUCA element, where before was almost this kind of thing that was we talked about, we now know we can operate within. I think that's really exciting because it means we're going to start to see that shift across multiple ways of working. I think I think communities will continue to rise in offices. I think that their offices will start to become more of a hub within as well as the sort of in-work community in the local communities that they serve. So we'll start to see them being sort of used more multi-purpose, and how do we bring communities into those as well. So I think there's a range of opportunities, which is all based on learning. But what I really believe is that it will continue to change. So we are at what I would probably describe now as hybrid 2.0. There will be likely a 3.0 and a 4.0. Sure. The factors that sit around that will determine what those things are. But I think now we've realized that we can adapt, and we've realized that we can change. It's only going to be more of an opportunity to continue with that experimental mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, talking about hand sanitizers, I had Distill, and then Caroline Sniman, who is the group innovation leader at Distill, actually also in the podcast. She was exactly sharing that story, how they moved in weeks, 1, 2, 3 weeks or whatever, from building one of the world's most admired alcoholic beverages to actually producing hand sanitizer during the pandemic. It's exactly that story.
Yeah. And it's that concept of swarming around things, right? So it's almost like when and this is the thing, and again with innovation, right? Crisis drives innovation. It's easy to innovate when we're in a crisis mode.
True.
The real magic is to be able to keep that pace and energy and urgency when you haven't got that crisis that's chasing you down. So, for example, we were able to see teams come together and achieve things we never would have thought would have been possible. Mobilizing teams to work from home overnight, right? I mean, I'm thinking about contact centers full of people where we would have never would have thought that would have been possible before. But bringing different teams together, the right expertise, giving them the empowerment and the accountability to make the decisions that needed to get the work done, speeds up, removes waste in the process, and it's how we make sure that we continue with that same momentum as we move into the next phase.
I could not agree more. Absolutely.